near success of the Christmas bombing have led some to call for a new Team B to reassess the threat the U.S. faces from Islamic terrorist networks. The Team B concept has been successful in previous administrations. Congressman Frank Wolf wrote President Obama when fresh eyes were needed to provide the commander-in-chief with objective information to make informed policy decisions. I believe it can work now, too.
Team B got it right.
On YouTube, Reagan-era Pentagon official Frank Gaffney has also urged that a new Team B be created by President Obama.
His Homeland Security advisor, John Brennan, talked about al-Qaeda being determined to kill innocent people. Well, that's actually not true. They're interested in killing people they consider to be infidels.
If there is to be a new Team B, it can count on one constant from the post-Watergate era. Its classified final report, like that of the first Team B, will be leaked to the news media. Brett?
James Rosen, our resident historian. James, thanks.
Thank you.
Critics are calling for an outside review of the Obama administration's terror strategy, this after a recent string of intelligence failures. And they are pointing to a precedent in recent history. Let's check in with James Rosen live in Washington with more on that. James?
John, good afternoon. Specifically, the call is for a new Team B, a panel that played a critical role in reshaping U.S. policy against our major threat in the Cold War, the Soviet Union, with the idea that a latter-day Team B would similarly reorient U.S. policy in our struggle against Islamic radicalism. The year was 1976, and Gerald Ford, the unelected president who had continued the old Nixon-Kissinger negotiating policy with the USSR known as détente, was facing a primary challenge from the right in the person of former California Governor Ronald Reagan. In that atmosphere, then CIA Director George Herbert Walker Bush created an ad hoc group of hawkish national security analysts, including a young intellectual named Paul Wolfowitz, to critique the national intelligence estimates assessing the strategic capabilities of the Soviets. This group, known as Team B, enjoyed access to top-secret classified documents and concluded that the U.S. intelligence community had underestimated Moscow's weapons capabilities and aggressive intentions, and the group called for a muscular policy to confront the Kremlin. Although critics at the time accused Team B of politicizing national security and making some unfounded judgments in their report, which was leaked to the news media, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 vindicated some of Team B's judgments. Many Team B players went on to serve in the Reagan administration. Flash forward to today, when conservative critics of the Obama administration charge that the president and his top advisors fundamentally misunderstand the origins, nature, and capabilities of Islamic terrorists, and accordingly call for the creation of a new Team B to provide a second opinion on those issues. Leading this charge is Frank Gaffney, a former Reagan-era Defense Department official who claims that President Obama is, quote, ignoring what's animating the enemy in today's long twilight struggle.
His Homeland Security advisor, John Brennan, was asked the other day by Helen Thomas, what's motivating these people? And he couldn't give her an accurate answer. He talked about al-Qaeda, being determined to kill innocent people. Well, that's actually not true. They're interested in killing people they consider to be infidels, who are by definition therefore not innocent.
In the next hour, and then again on Special Report with Brett Barrett, 6 Eastern, we'll hear from a historian who is critical of Team B, who calls it basically a political operation, what their alleged political goal was. Coming up in the next hour. John.
We'll be watching.
Well, historically, sometimes the intelligence community can suffer from tunnel vision, and they might need a second opinion. Remember, around 35 years ago, was having trouble assessing the threat posed by the Soviet Union. The CIA director put together what became known as Team B. Check out this historic footage that we have. An outside group of experts took a look at the problem from a fresh perspective. Well, their recommendation was credited with helping to win the Cold War. Now, some critics say political correctness is blinding the Obama administration to the danger posed by radical Islam, and they're calling for the creation of a new Team B. James Rosen is live in Washington on this. Hi, James.
Jamie, good afternoon. If conjured into existence, today's Team B would, like the original Team B, enjoy access to all relevant top-secret classified data on the country's chief external threat. It was in 1976 that then CIA Director George Herbert Walker Bush convened a group of hawkish national security analysts, including a young arms control officer named Paul Wolfowitz, to critique the intelligence community's most recent assessments of the Soviet Union. At the time, President Gerald Ford was under attack from his right flank for continuing the Nixon-Kissinger policy of détente, which favored negotiation with the USSR over confrontation. Team B concluded the U.S. intelligence community had underestimated Moscow's strategic threat and called for renewed defense spending to counter it. Their final report was leaked to the news media and attacked by liberals and centrists, but the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 provided some measure of vindication. Today, conservative critics say the threat from Islamic terrorists, their motivations, objectives, and capabilities are all being misread by President Obama and his top advisors. Sounding the call for a new Team B is Frank Gaffney, a former Reagan-era defense. So who would Frank Gaffney propose should constitute a new Team B today? More on that in Special Report with Brett Baer, 6 Eastern. Jamie?
Thanks so much, James. We could get some answers right now, too, because I'm going to send it across the newsroom to Trace. Trace?
Yeah, James Rose was mentioning Frank Gaffney. He joins us now. He's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense and the President of the Center for Security Policy. Frank, welcome to you, sir. I mean,
Thank you.
We're listening to James Rose's report. You believe that a Team B would be an independent group that would offer a diagnosis of the nature of the enemy here. Explain that.
Look, it comes down to getting a second opinion. In a medical condition, you got a grave disease.
Right.
You got a doctor who's saying, let's treat it symptomatically, and is apparently missing the underlying causes of the disease. It's a good idea to bring in some others to give you another view of it. I think what's needed now, given that, as in the Cold War, we're dealing with a totalitarian ideology bent on our destruction, we ought to bring in some people who recognize that, give them access, as was done with Team B during the Cold War, to all of the classified information, and let them make an informed second opinion that can help, hopefully, get our government's policies right on what Islam calls Sharia and the threat it represents to all of us.
I want to put this quote up on the screen if I can, because it's both scary and very telling. This is from you. What we are witnessing is that jihadists around the world perceive that it is practical and productive for them to engage in violent kinds of attacks inside the United States. They believe this benefits them.
Right. Sharia, this ideological program, tells its adherents they have to engage in jihad. It can be the violent kind, that's the most efficient way, if it'll be effective. If it won't, to engage in a more stealthy kind. I'm concerned that as a result of the mistakes, the misapprehensions, the confusion, the simple failure to recognize the danger and what causes it, we are in fact reinforcing the belief of the jihadists of our time that violence is going to be practical and productive, and that is going to bring death and destruction to our shores.
And I want to make sure that you are being very clear on this. This Team B would be a pull no punches group. I mean, this is a counter voice to the CIA and intelligence, and you point out that the Obama administration, you believe, has, because of these policies that allow the prosecution of intel agents, the policies that would shut down Gitmo, you think that this is letting our enemies believe they either have time on their hands or they are winning this battle?
They believe already they have time on their hands. I mean, God is telling them that they will triumph ultimately. What concerns me is that, as we've seen in Europe, they think things are accelerating in their direction, and in this particular instance, add to the litany that you've just mentioned, things like bringing some of these jihadists to civilian courts for trial, including this guy over Detroit. And that only can, I think, exacerbate their confidence that they are on the winning side, and that redoubling their effort will produce even more rapid progress towards what Sharia tells them they have to achieve, which is the global triumph of their theocracy ruling under Sharia.
Gaffney, great to see you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you.